Support for WUWM podcasts comes from Johnson Financial Group, helping customers build financial plans around their unique goals for over 55 years. More at johnsonfinancialgroup.com. Johnson Bank and Johnson Wealth, Inc. are Johnson Financial Group companies.
You're listening to Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR station. Here's one of our favorite conversations about the people, places, and organizations that shape Milwaukee.
Head Start provides free and low-cost early childcare for more than 12,000 kids across Wisconsin. That includes many immigrant families and families dealing with the impacts of poverty. But new changes to the program proposed by the Trump administration may remove class size limits and require all instruction to be in English. To learn more about the proposals, WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal speaks with Jennie Mauer, the executive director of Wisconsin's Head Start Association.
What came out was the technical term is called a notice of proposed rulemaking. So this is the process by which the administration proposes new rules for different federal programs. Right now, nothing is changing for Head Start. So for families that are enrolling and getting ready to bring their kids to the Head Start classroom, they should feel really confident that they're getting the same great service and standards, whether they're in the city of Milwaukee or whether they're in Manitowoc. So right now, those standards are still in place, but this proposal is really a sweeping piece of deregulation that fundamentally alters the rules that govern how Head Start is meant to function. You know, I heard an analogy that I think might be great for your listeners. So Congress authorizes Head Start through the Head Start Act. So that's like buying a piece of furniture at a big box furniture store. And the standards are like the instruction manual that comes with it. They're all the things that tell you how to put that piece of furniture together. And so that's what rolling back the standards, why it's so alarming, because it's the detail that really provides programs across the country so that you have that consistency regardless of where your child is attending Head Start and regardless of which community.
I think the analogy is useful too because people may not exactly understand how this program is chartered and basically why it matters that the federal government is proposing changes. Can you run through some of those other proposed changes?
Yeah, so there are a number of pieces in this proposed rule change that are really alarming. And I can start with the increases in teacher to child ratios, because this document is really full of references to flexibility and that communities can make decisions for what's right for their community. But I think it's really important for folks to know that when you're talking about kids, there's safety standards in place for really good reasons. You know, I think, are there places within the Head Start standards where it's possible to consider changes? Certainly, to have fewer regulations, but there isn't a single person who I've encountered in the Head Start field that says, the thing that we really want is more kids in the classroom. No one has been asking for this. No one I've talked to thinks this is a good idea. And in fact, what we know about Head Start kiddos is that they're often coming from family situations where there's a lot going on in their family and in their community. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of different repeating things that a kiddo is dealing with. And so those children are often coming with speech and language delays, autism-like behaviors, as well as other developmental and physical concerns. And again, the answer to those challenges is more support, fewer children to adult ratio so that those children can get the support they need to thrive and grow. Because at Head Start, we know there's no bad kids. There's just kids who need a little extra love and support. So increasing the ratios is really an off-base solution that isn't recommended by any experts or any kids and families. I think we all can pretty clearly see that the answer isn't more children in the classrooms.
Thank you. That's helpful. Critics from across the country and Head Start associations in other states have said that this is kind of a backdoor way of dismantling Head Start. Do you agree with that?
I think I would agree that this move by the administration is really an attempt to dismantle what we know has worked, and promotes quality and promotes those long-term outcomes for kids and families and really for our communities. Again, there's a lot of rhetoric in this proposal about flexibility and about adding more children, giving more children access to Head Start. But I would really encourage everyone to look to what is in the standard, and to what is in the budget. There's not a there's not any proposal to increase the funding for Head Start at this time. You can say flexibility up and down until the cows come home, but the reality is that flexibility comes on the backs of staff and children. Programs will have to serve more kids. So I would really encourage us to think about that word flexibility as a Trojan horse. It's really what they really should have said is we're requiring you to serve more kids, and I really feel like this proposal is misleading in its aims.
Now, there have been pieces of this proposed rulemaking that have been dropped. And so there was originally a new documentation standard that would have required programs to verify immigration status. That is no longer part of this proposed rule. But there are other pieces of this, like requiring instruction in English, that people are concerned about disproportionately impacting immigrant families or families with mixed immigration statuses. This is a population that heavily relies on free and low-cost childcare provided by Head Start. I'm wondering how people are thinking about the impact specifically to immigrant families and families with mixed immigration statuses as these proposed rules are coming forward.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned that is in this proposal is a requirement for all instruction to be in English. And, as I've talked about this proposal, I really want folks to think about what it's like to get a classroom of 3-year-olds ready to go outside in the winter. So one requirement this proposal has is a time requirement for physical education. Now, I'll put these two proposals together. First of all, if anyone's been to a Head Start classroom, they know there is tremendous amount of movement and physical activity happening. If you've met any child from the ages of 3 to 5, or as soon as they can walk through 5, there's constant movement. And programs are always trying and working to get kids outside, or if the weather is too bad, as it often is in Wisconsin, there's large gross motor rooms, so places where kids can play when it's snowy outside or it's too cold. Now, so thinking about that English only piece, I would just encourage folks to think about the practical realities that if you have a group of children, so in Western Wisconsin, in parts of Milwaukee, we have classrooms where kids are speaking different languages. If you have a classroom full of children that speak Spanish as their first language and you're trying to get their snow pants on and you're not able to speak to them in Spanish, that just doesn't work. And not only is it not practical to think about getting those kids snow pants on, it's also when we think about English language acquisition, there's really strong evidence that it's the combination of leveraging the child's home language that helps them to learn English as a second language. So I would really encourage us to push past the rhetoric that surrounds English only education as a requirement, and to think about what the practical realities are. Again, for a classroom of 3-year-olds, you need to be able to communicate with them. So it's a ridiculous requirement, and it's not practical when you think of running a classroom with small children.
Jennie Mauer is the executive director of the Wisconsin Head Start Association. She spoke with WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal. The public comment period for these proposed changes to Head Start ends on October 6th.
That was the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast. It comes from your local NPR station, WUWM. Subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast to hear more great stories about Milwaukee.